disgusting blob. I'm gonna have to hold him myself.
Hey Ocean Crew, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Karen and I'm from Ocean Chicks Films. Tonight, we're gonna be doing a viewer request. I'm gonna have a look at Ghostbusters from 1984. Ghostbusters from 1984. Members of a team of scientists get fired from their steady-paying jobs and decide to go into business together. Quickly, they are over their heads in dangerous work, fighting off all the ghosts that start popping up in New York City. Directed by Ivan Reitman, starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Sigourney Weaver. All right, let's get into this film. But first, I have a big announcement to make. I am doing my very first live stream at the end of November with the one, the only, GCAP Recap. I'm super stoked. I really can't wait. I don't think he knows what he's getting himself into because I can talk. I can really talk a lot, a whole lot. But it's going to be super fun. I'll talk about it more as the time goes on, as we get closer to the date. But I really hope that you guys will tune in. It's going to be on his channel. I'll link that in the description box below. And go subscribe to his channel so that you'll get notified when we go live, because it's going to be super fun. All right, let's get into this movie. So this film was produced and directed by Ivan Reitman, and Dan Aykroyd was actually the one who wrote it. And together with Harold Ramis, who's in the film as well, and Ivan, they came together and figured out a way to do it so that it wouldn't cost $1 kajillion to make. And so glad that he was able to make this happen, Dan, and put it out there because, wow, this is such a great film. I mean, it's such a cult classic. It's a classic. This movie has a massive star-studded cast with the likes of Sigourney Weaver, Bill Murray, and Dan Aykroyd, like I said, and more. It just goes on and on and on. It's got such a great following. It's such a fun film, and they've made sequels, a reboot, and even an animated series afterwards as well. And you can still go into almost any store and find Ghostbusters products, especially Halloween costumes at Halloween. Super fun. I mean, Spirit of Halloween still does a big display of it every year, and it's super popular. So of course I have a very funny story with this one too. Back in the day when it came out in theaters, of course I went to go see it, and I went with my best friend. We went, I think it was in the evening, and we went to watch, and we got halfway through to the part where Sigourney Weaver, or Dana, the character Dana, she's possessed and she's levitating off of the bed. My friend leaned into me and said, "Do you want to go?" And I said, "Okay." We left. We left halfway through the movie. I can't believe we did that. We had no idea this thing would be so massively popular, and it was pretty good back then, but I've grown to love it a lot more over the years. I appreciate it much more now. I guess back then, yeah, that was the year or around then when Karate Kid came out, and I was really obsessed with The Karate Kid. That was like my favorite movie of all time, and I guess I was more interested in that, so I didn't really care about this movie, but I think that's so funny that we walked out halfway through. I mean, what were we thinking? Okay, this film still is getting rave reviews, and but it is an adult-oriented film. I don't think it's really meant for young children because it's got a lot of heavy topics in it. It's got kind of crude language. It's got sex. It's got smoking. I find it so weird watching them all smoking the way that they are in the film. Well, it was a different time back then, that's for sure. But it's certainly a fun film for adults and for young adults and teens. Just little kids, I think, might want to pass this one, or, you know, if they have adult accompaniment, maybe. It's just got a lot of heavy topics, so it's kind of strange because it's marketed so much for kids that I'm sure there are a lot of little ones that are wearing the costumes even this year for Halloween, but you know, that's how things go sometimes, but probably better for adults to watch. So the film starts out with our main characters, Peter Venkman, played by Bill Murray, Ray Stantz, played by Dan Aykroyd, and Egon Spengler, played by Harold Ramis. And they're these very eccentric parapsychologists and friends. So they're employed by the university and they use very unorthodox methods. And it gets them fired. And then they decide they're going to take off on their own, and they find this space that they're going to rent out, and they're going to go into business together to hunt ghosts. Well, actually, I think I'd better say capture ghosts. And they find this big old fire department station that they have to do a lot of fix up with, but they decide they're going to rent that out. And then they hire this really cool secretary played by Annie Potts. The whole thing's set in New York City, and they are at the firehouse and they're eating the last of their petty cash fund, and they finally get a phone call. They finally get a job, and the job is at this big old library downtown. And of course there's this crazy ghost that's wreaking havoc there, and they get to meet this old librarian, and she's freaked out by it. And it's really cool because there's like catalogs of index cards that they used to put the books and all of the information on them to keep them filed. And I love that scene so much because it flashes me back. I spent a lot of time at the library growing up in high school and in university, and I really like that old school kind of stuff. It kind of, you know, it's different from all the computers and stuff that we have going on now, so I really love this scene. And then they eventually meet another client. Her name's Dana Barrett, and she's played by Sigourney Weaver. And she lives in a big old apartment downtown. That's a pretty cool scene too. She has this like demon in her kitchen, and it's, you know, causing all this trouble. I won't get into too much detail if you haven't seen it yet, but I love that scene too. And she eventually takes them on to help her out as well. And Bill Murray's character is infatuated with her right from the beginning as well. So it's kind of funny. That's some funny stuff going on there too. And there's this guy, Lewis Tully, who lives across the hallway from Sigourney Weaver's character. He's played by Rick Moranis, and that makes for really funny scenes too. He's got a crush on her, and he's very dorky. He's an accountant, and he's constantly trying to hook up with her, and she's shooting him down all the time. But anyhow, after a while, the two of them end up encountered by these ghosts, and they become, or demons, whatever you want to call them, and they become possessed, both of them. There's these gods or demons. They are trying to come down to Earth to take over the planet and destroy all the humans, that kind of thing. So Dana is possessed by Zool, and Lewis is possessed by the Gatekeeper. So then these two are there to help protect Gozer, this ancient god that's coming to basically destroy humanity, destroy the planet. And this is why all of these ghosts are popping up all over downtown New York. And the Ghostbusters have tons of business coming their way. And they end up becoming very famous, but as you would probably think, it gets worse before it gets better. The film had a budget of around 25 million or so, and at the box office it brought in 295 million. And I mean, it just kept growing and growing and growing all over the world. So it's a pretty spectacular film, actually. It's done really, really, really well. And I so very much apologize that my friend and I walked out halfway through when we first saw it, because we shouldn't have done that. So there are lots of cool ghosts and creatures in this film, but the thing that puts it right over the top is, of course, the theme song, sung by Ray Parker Jr., Who You Gonna Call? I so wish that I could play a little clip of that for you right now, because I think that would add to the ambiance of this whole review, but we all know I can't do that. Can I YouTube? No, can't do that. And considering the lawsuits and things that flew around about this song, I probably don't want to go there. Fun fact, Huey Lewis, who originally was, I guess, going to do the theme song, who turned it down, and then Ray Parker Jr. did it instead, and of course it became so hugely popular, suddenly decided to sue them because the song sounded too similar to I Want a New Drug. And yeah, okay, I guess so. I don't know about that, but I guess in the end they settled out of court and that was that. But like, whatever. I'm so glad that Ray Parker Jr. did it because it's such a good song. I mean, anytime you hear it anywhere, it makes you smile. So they filmed this movie throughout New York and also in some sets in LA. And I'm so glad that they did because a lot of the architecture and the scenes and the sights were just so reminiscent of that time period that I really am glad that they did that. Things have really changed a lot, I think, since then, and it's just nice to have a little bit of history kind of hidden in a movie, I think. There are a lot of cool ghosts and creatures in this film. My favorite one by far has to be Slimer. He's this little green blob guy and he eats a lot, and he's 100% made of ectoplasm, so he's all slime. And they meet him at this Grand Hotel downtown, and he's causing lots of trouble, and he actually Bill Murray's character actually chases him around and he gets slimed by him. So he has all this ectoplasm all covering him. So the other guys are like super excited because they can take some and test it. They have this live ectoplasm they've never had before. But Bill Murray's totally grossed out because he's just like covered in slime.
He slimed me.
That's great! Actual physical contact!
And Ivan Reitman actually did the voice of Slimer. I think that's really neat too. I didn't know that before. The guards of Gozer are actually in the form of these creepy large dogs, and they're called terror dogs. And one is Zool and the other one is Vince Clortho. And like I said before, Dana and Lewis are taken over by their spirits. And then of course there's Gozer, this evil goddess that comes through the portal, I guess from hell to earth, I don't know. And she's quite something. She's trying to take over the planet and kill all the humans. And then we have my second favorite, or maybe it's my first. No, I think Slimer is my first favorite. Second favorite character, creature, is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And what's really cool is when Dana's in her apartment just before the demon takes her over, on her counter she's bought groceries and there's a bag of Stay Puft marshmallows. But then when the Marshmallow Man is kind of transformed into this big Godzilla-sized creature walking through the streets, it's very cool. I think it's very iconic. The reason he comes to life or comes to existence is because they have Gozer cornered on top of this building, the Ghostbusters, and she says to them, "Imagine the next form I will take." And everybody else goes totally, don't think of anything, just go blank. And Ray makes the mistake of imagining the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man because he thinks he's soft and fluffy and how can he be harmful? But he has no idea that this is going to happen. So everyone's mad at him and it's kind of crazy. I love that scene a lot. There's also lots of cool gadgets and machines in this movie. The Ecto-1, of course, being the best one. I think the car that they buy for super cheap and then they reconvert into the Ghostbuster vehicle. And it's like this big hearse, and it's like a 1959 Cadillac, I think. Anyway, I love this car so much. I've seen models of it, really nice replicated models of it, and I would love to get one for my collection. I think at the time when they were using the car in the movie, Dan Aykroyd actually took the car and drove it around town randomly, and I don't think people knew that he was driving it, so that's pretty cool. And of course, they have their very cool suits, their uniforms with the proton pack and the, what's it called, a particle thrower, where they would, you know, zap the ghosts and then suck them back up and pack them away and take them back to the station. And even their ecto goggles, which allow them to see the invisible ghosts. There are so many fun facts about this movie, and I could be here for probably 2 hours talking about it, but to condense it a little bit, I'll just tell you a few. There were lots and lots of ad-libs in this movie, and you can imagine that with Bill Murray working, and also with Dan Aykroyd. I can just imagine all of them goofing around so much, but it makes for a lot of really great scenes actually because they kept a lot of it in. Ivan Reitman, in the middle of the film, instead of running a 555 phone number, which would have been a fake phone number, which is what they usually would do in a movie, he ran a 1-800 number that was an actual phone number that went somewhere that people could call in if they caught it. Seeing it, they could call in and then get a pre-recorded message about the Ghostbusters, so that's pretty cool. A lot of other big celebrities declined to be in the movie to play the roles for different reasons. So I think regardless of this cast being a part of it, it still would have been a huge big profile celebrity movie. And I bet a lot of them are kicking themselves now that they didn't do it. Like I said, Dan Aykroyd wrote this film, and his intention was to have John Belushi in it, but John passed away, sadly, before that could happen. And the character that was created, Slimer the Ghost, is actually in reference to John Belushi. In particular, his character in National Lampoon's Animal House, the way that he would eat, it's kind of a connection there, so that's kind of cool. Sigourney's character, when she's levitating in the bed, she's actually on some sort of a lever that's coming out of the wall, and I think that's a lot of the same kind of technology they used in The Exorcist as well. Same kind of thing. That scene was pretty scary to me, actually, way back when, and that might have been around the time, I think that might have been why, partly, that I wanted to leave the movie halfway through, because it was pretty scary, and I wasn't expecting it in a comedy type of deal. Ray Parker Jr. wrote the theme song in like 2 days. He had to do it super fast, but man, what a good job it was. I think sometimes when you're put under pressure like that, you're most creative and come up with the best work. That's what I think anyway. The Ghostbusters station headquarters was actually filmed, the outside of it was actually filmed downtown at the, and I'm going to read this because I'll screw it up if I don't, at the Hook and Ladder No. 8 Firehouse in the Tribeca section in New York City. Now, I don't know how true this is, but the Stay Puft Marshmallow suits that they used in the film, there were 3 made, all destroyed, but they cost $20,000 each. Can you believe that? Wow. The character Gozer actually comes from a documented haunting in England. Isn't that creepy? I gotta look that one up sometime. Maybe I'll do a little episode about it if it's got lots of stuff going on there. Pretty scary. Dana's apartment in the film is actually in a physical location in Central Park West in New York City. So that's pretty cool. I love that apartment so much. Oh my God, it's so gorgeous. My favorite scene in the library where all the index cards are flying off out of the cupboards, out of the drawers. They actually had people in behind the drawers flinging those out by hand. That's pretty neat. Larry King made a cameo in this movie. And this movie was released on the same day as Gremlins, if you can believe that. That's another good one. I have to review that one too. I just bought that one on DVD. The white ghost in the Ghostbusters logo is called Moogly. Yeah, Moogly. The hotel that they used to film some of the scenes with Slimer the Ghost, that was filmed apparently at the Biltmore Hotel, which is really cool. YouTuber Sam and Colby, I watched them do ghost hunting episodes there, and it just looks so beautiful. I think that's really, really neat. The only thing is there were interior shots that were in hallways, and the hallways were pretty narrow, so they had to do those in LA on stage sets instead. But still very, very cool. Very gorgeous, grand hotel. Originally, the film was going to be called Ghost Stoppers or Ghost Blasters. And the reason behind that was that the name Ghostbusters was already taken. So there was another lawsuit for that too. So crazy. I'm really glad they fought for the name though, because I think that's very, very fitting. I don't think the other names would have worked very well. All right, so I think that's enough of that. That's enough fun facts. We can do maybe another episode where we talk more about this film. Or if you guys know of some information about this film that I haven't mentioned here, then comment it down below because I'd love to hear. And for my review, I am going to give this film 5 shark bites out of 5 because it's a classic. I mean, you know, it's a great film, and I was an idiot for walking out the first time I saw it. All right, guys, I guess that's a wrap. I hope you guys have the most amazing Halloween and you're enjoying your weekend. Stay safe by all means. And I love you guys so much. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because we're going to do a lot more movie reviews and fun stuff after Halloween. It's going to keep on going. I love you guys so much, and have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you very soon. Bye, guys.